Here.
Here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion to have a second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public input. This is time and place for discussion items not already on the agenda with a time limit of 3 minutes each. Budget, Parks and Rec.
Alrighty. So I'm going to go through both the parks and recreation budgets. Everybody has a copy of both, correct? Okay. I'll start with the parks budget. One thing under revenues I just want to mention, if you look under miscellaneous and donations, we have it at $9,000 for revenues. I've been working with Brandon, and we are going to try and sponsor out the soccer fields out of the sports complex for the spring and fall seasons, along with the flag football field in the fall. So I'm working to get businesses to sponsor those, and then we are going to have a sign made, a map that we will hang up or have put up on the pavilion out there. So just for instance, if I use, say, Bill's Tap, it would be Bill's Tap Field. They would come, they would see that, they'd know exactly where to go. So that's one thing that I'm working on, so I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention as to why that number is there. Otherwise, I'm going to go to expenditures, and I'm just going to go down the list here. Salaries and wages, current budget $60,000, year-to-date's $35,000, so we upped that to $70,000. Most of this stuff, we just saw where we're at. We're a little over 6 months, 6 months into this fiscal year, so we're seeing where we're at and then just planning according to that. Salary, regular, part-time, $10,000. Current budget, we're at a little over $5,000 now, so we bumped that to $11,000. Group insurance, $400. We left that the same. Allowance for uniform, we went from $250 to $500. Training and development, $500. We kept that the same. Building maintenance and repair, current budget $10,000. Year to date, nothing. We left that at $10,000. Ground maintenance and repair, we left the same, $17,500. Vehicle operations, left that the same for $5,000. Vehicle repair, current budget $2,000. We left that the same. Operational equipment repair, we went up $1,000 on that just based off the fact that we've already spent $2,772. And then electrical and gas expense, $10,000. We left that the same. So that covers the first page. I'm going to jump to the second page here. Contractual services, insurance expense, $6,500. We bumped that to $7,500. Payments to other agencies, $150. We just dropped that down to $100. Programs stayed the same, $1,500. And then other contractual services, current budget $2,000. You'll see we're right around $3,000, so we bumped that up to $4,000. Commodities, minor equipment, we originally budgeted $19,000. We've only used $1,666. We dropped that down to $15,000. Grant expenditures, $0. Pool supplies stayed the same, $5,000. And then other supplies, current budget $3,000. We left that the same as well. Miscellaneous, left it at $100, which brings the total to $169,100, which is up about $7,000 from this fiscal year. Anybody have any questions on parks at all? Good? Okay, I'm going to jump over to recreation then. Expenditures for recreation, same thing with the salaries, regular part-time, $27,000. We're at around 17 right now, so we bumped that to $35,000. Association dues, we left at $200. Jumped down to building maintenance and repair, $500 stayed the same. And then the other one under that category, telecommunication expense, $1,000, that remains the same as well. Insurance expense, $1,500, we bumped it to $1,600. Payments to other agencies, $2,500, we kept that the same. Halloween Town remained, Halloween Town 1,000, we bumped that up to 1,500 just because that event continues to grow each year. And I know I've talked to you guys in the past about buying new things and trying to keep that as up to date as we possibly can. So there'll be some extra expenses associated with that event that we put on. And then programs, we bumped it from 2,000 to 2,500. I'm going to jump to the second page of recreation. Contractual services, we left at 100. Minor equipment, stayed the same, 2,500. Office supplies, 100. Soccer, we actually dropped down. It was 3,500. We dropped it down to 2,500. Basketball, 1,800. We raised that to 2,500. Baseball, softball, t-ball stayed the same at 2,000. And then football, we bumped up from 2,500 to 3,000. Miscellaneous stayed the same at 200. It brought the total budget to 58,700, which is up about 10 grand from previous years. Just keep in mind, our programs are growing every year, but along with that, we bring in more revenue. Another thing is we're offering more. We've never had basketball camps in the past. We're doing basketball camps for basketball. We're doing other intro programs for whether it be soccer or t-ball, things like that. We're starting kids a little bit younger, trying to give them an opportunity to play as well, just like all the other kids. So along with the little bit higher budget comes more revenue, so it all pretty much evens out.
It says in here, you said you put soccer at 25, my budget says 35.
I could have misspoke. 35, it was 35, we dropped it to 25. Or is that supposed to be 35?
Mine looks like 35.
It could be, then we probably kept it the same, that's my fault. It looks like a 2 on mine. You have your copy?
You think that the soccer would be growing?
The soccer is growing, so I'm assuming we probably did leave that the same. Yes, 35, my fault, mine looks like a 2. It is 3,500, so that remained the same as it was for this budget.
How many salaries are paid from Parks and Rec together?
I will let Brandon answer that. I know that some of the maintenance
Half
guys.
of his, and then there's some of the maintenance guys are paid out of Parks,
Okay.
and then all of his referees.
Okay, I thought he was like half and half, but you're right,
He
there's
is,
other
there's other,
people thrown into that mix too. Okay, yeah.
Do you need any big equipment?
I think I'm good for now. Obviously, I've got the truck, I've got my tractor that was purchased a few years ago, so I talked with Brandon. I don't think that there's any needs right now. We've got our mowers.
Paint?
We've got our paint for now. Yeah, along with that agreement, we get paint every year, so I think we're pretty good. I don't need to really buy anything too crazy.
Anybody else? Thanks. General?
all right, first one you should have street lights, is that right?
Well, they got tip and lost
Okay,
first, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Where you want us to go?
Whatever's easiest for you, I can navigate.
You do TIF, we're right here.
All right, Christine, you want to go over TIF?
I can do that. So you'll see that our bond payments for TIF are at $115,117.50 for next year. As long as you guys continue to have the downtown rehab, that's the $20,000 that we usually put in. And then budget blinds, you'll see that next year's is $46,858 is what's estimated. But then we also have $93.14 that was actually for this year because their valuation went up, but we can recoup that. So that's included in there, so that's what gets us out to that $191,290. But then on the next page, you'll see that our revenues coming in, what we certified to the county is $173,000. That's the bond payments plus the budget blinds added together with a little bit of rounding up for that. So that's the revenue that we get in from the county. Otherwise, we're diving into our reserves for the downtown rehab, which we have the reserves for that. $500 for the interest in the revenues there. Don't look at the bottom number because that's not correct down there. It's 173.5, not 163. And then if you guys continue to do the downtown reinvestment program, we've got the $20,000 that we've been doing for the last few years budgeted in there. as long as you guys have your approval of transferring in and transferring out. And then we have budget lines. They're the only TIF agreement that we have at this moment for the next fiscal year, so that we have that $46,000 payment to them. And then transferring in, you'll see a bigger one of the 56, and that's recouping what we overpaid this year due to their evaluation going up, and then we're getting it back next year. If anybody has questions on TIF?
Local option sales tax. All right, as you can see on there, we're at about 195 in revenues, so 390 is a pretty accurate number for what we should recoup for revenues on local option sales tax. On expenditures, we did raise the street lights from 37 to 41 just because they've come in a little bit higher the last couple of years and we have more of them. So I'm going to take 41 for there. 30,000 for insurance. 3,000 for fireworks for sauerkraut days, assuming you still want to do that. 4,000 to Southeast Lynn, they do the after-school activities. 200,000 to the sports complex. 1,000 to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and then we have the 250,000 for the fire truck, the new bumper truck. Any questions?
When was that bumper truck?
645, I believe.
Any questions?
This should, when this is paid, we have the 200 that's set in general from the transfer from last year. There'll be this 250, and there'll be about 200 in truck set aside for the fire department, so that should pay it.
Any questions?
So when are you gonna get it?
They're supposed to get the chassis into Alexis in February, and they're hoping for a November, December, January timeframe for delivery.
General.
I just spoke on street lights, so we'll go to the council one. Christina's put in here for, the league is really pushing for council members to do some training activities, so she would like the budget for some of that, so you can yell at her for that, not me. So that's on there. Everything else is pretty status quo for council. City Hall, general building. There's really nothing out of the ordinary. All this stuff, janitor expense, that's just for supplies for the janitor here. The only thing I'll draw attention to, building maintenance, that's the wall, the windows out here. That's why that's far reaching this year. It's over budget. That's why we had the budget amendment tonight. We'll take care of that. But everything else, we're budgeting back to normal for that. Clerk, treasurer, financial admin. Everything is pretty status quo there, other than the salary increase, of course. And then she got down here for a lead. There's just more opportunities in 2026 for training. The next page, we did lower the printing and publishing. As you can see, we're only at 1605. That fluctuates depending on the amount of public hearings and all the different things we have going on, but we're going to lower that a little bit. Same with technology services. We did do a new printer contract this year, which is factored into there. That's pretty much it there. General government, you have the website maintenance, $3,000. That hasn't come out this year yet. That's why there's a zero there, and it does increase. We did have an increase this year, so 3,000 should cover that. Accounting and auditing, That's just our normal audit. Sometimes when we spend, like for the sports complex or the well, where there's a significant amount of money, sometimes you have to do a single audit. We don't believe we're gonna have to do that, but this 14,000 would cover a single audit if we had to do that on top of the regular one. Engineering expense, we dropped that down. That's pretty much it there. It's actually lower than it was last year. Any questions on general?
The engineering expenses that we're not doing much or what?
Well, that's just for the city hall building, so it was high last year because we had the sidewalk and the parking lot and the apron for the fire department. So each time they do a project, it comes out of that individual budget. So if they're doing a water project, it'll come out of there.
Where's the election come out?
That's in there. I think it's under building.
I think it has its own page, and we just kept it straight across, because we had an election year. This year we'll have election year this next year as well.
Do you want to go over the sports complex project?
Yeah, so you can see the transfers in on the sports complex. And then I'll kind of touch on the bid process, but they're going out this week, and we should be right at $1 million, $1.1 million, somewhere right in there, depending on what all we have done. That's on 337 sports complex. And then capital projects for the well. Revenue on that, we have about $600,000. 650,000 for grants, and that's from that $1 million ARPA grant from the county. So we've spent around 350,000 of that. We had the 282 and the 48,000 for the last 2 years. So we'll spend the rest of that on the chemical treatment building. That'll be going in a few months. Questions with either one of those?
You skipped over the 338 water line if you want to show how we did that one this time. Budgeting zero except for the one transfer in.
Yep, so we're gonna do the transfer in from water for 35,000. That's gonna help with offsetting of the extra surprises that we found with that. We're also part of the budget amendment was the loss, transferring some of that money into there to help zero out that account. And then if you remember when we did water last meeting, we allocated 35,000 of water funds to go into. So as you see in here, that's where that's coming from. So that's going to be for the projects for future water line rehab that we're going to do in-house. The one we're doing on Main Street this year that's already in the budget, is already in the works. This will be for the next project that we have in mind, which sounds like it's going to be Third Avenue. So that's what that's for. So we're going to keep the water line rehab as a continuation, as an account, so we put funds in there to set aside for when we want to update. We had 22 blocks remaining to get rid of those 4-inch mains.
Any questions? Discussion of possible action in reference to payment to Polyvinyl Roofing Incorporated in the amount of $23,667 for library repairs.
So this is the one that was presented to you originally. As I updated last time, there's some hail damage up there, and I'm still working with insurance on that. So this is just for the part that they repaired already, and that was for the main, the pictures you saw with the cut at the north end of it, and then it looked like it lifted up. So this will cover that, and then we'll see where the next part leads us.
Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve payment.
A Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 02-2025 appointments.
So these are just all the boards and committees. We've reached out to everyone, and everyone's willing to either renew their term or they're in the middle of a term. I have not heard back, though, from Greg Boba. I left 2 messages. John, do you know if he's still wanting to do the tree board?
I hadn't looked at it, so I didn't ask him.
Okay. If you
I
could find
don't
out.
think he's that interested, probably.
You want to find out, let me know, and we'll just.
Yeah, I'll be seeing him at the end of the week.
Okay.
Your motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
No motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Nate?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Resolution 03-2025 funds transfer.
So we're trying to get through our treasurer's report, and there's a lot of these open accounts that have been there for years. We're trying to delete them out since we don't use them anymore. So you can see the History Center had $1 in it, so we transferred that to the History Center capital improvement. Veterans Fund is $2,947. We're going to take that to the Vets Fund, which is the Highway 30 account, and that's for the monument out there. Police forfeiture was $1,002.43. That's part of the general fund, so it'll be transferred there. Capital Hall, or City Hall Capital Improvement Fund, that goes back to the general fund. They created that when they did the addition that they put on here. Special Assessment Repair Fund, this would go into roads. But we're putting it into the capital improvement for the fire department because that's the amount of money that they're paying for the new 409 out of the capital improvement. So we're just transferring that to there to save another transfer. And then the splash pad wading pool, that was $1,665. We're just putting that to the sports complex since the splash pad is complete, and those funds have just all been sitting there for years. So we're just trying to clean those up.
Any questions? Your motion? Move to approve. Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Rick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Nate?
Aye.
Resolution 04-2025 cell phone stipends.
So this currently is $25 across the board for everyone, excluding Christina. And I wanted to add her to this as well. The reason being is we get a lot of Hills Bank, I call them quality controls. They approve certain things that they catch. So she needs to use her phone while she's not here because there's a time limit on those. And also, myself, Christina, Public Works Director, and Park and Rec Director are all required to have internet for their phone. So I would like to see $50 stipend for that. And then the Public Works staff, the other Public Works staff only use their phone for phone calls to get called in or throughout the course of the day, which would remain at 25. It'd be a little bit more consistent with where everywhere else is. The other thing is, right now, they're currently paid a stipend that goes through payroll. So it's taxed as income through payroll, which it really shouldn't be. It should be its own separate check. So Christina is going to pay these out quarterly instead of monthly.
So what's a cell phone plan cost?
Well, that's the big thing. We could go that route, but you're looking at probably over $100 a person per phone.
But does every maintenance person need a phone?
Well, the problem is they get called in. And they've always gotten it for that purpose, so. It was in the contract previously, they got it. Obviously, there's not a contract now, so, I mean, you guys can choose to do whatever you
Well,
want.
I'm just saying, I think that one gets $50, they all should get $50.
The only difference is you gotta have the data, so they're not using their phones as hotspots, they're not monitoring telemetry. Like Christina has to actually have the internet to go in to approve that, log into Hills Bank and do all that stuff. Well, some of it's not, but like, you know, if people are using it for a hotspot to do work, then that's the only difference.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we should pay like yours, and full board and Travis's.
I'm more than content with paying 50, because I would rather, one, it's cheaper than having two phones.
But you understand, once you use that phone for, it's
civic
equal
purposes.
gain, right?
Yeah.
So whatever's on that phone is public
Right.
information. That's why, if you wanted to get your own phone,
I would rather, they're gonna call my phone anyway, so.
well, I'm just saying.
No, I get it.
So let's just go this, let's say, I sent you a dirty joke, okay? And I find out about it, I want your phone, and once you investigate that, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I would worry about, you know?
Yeah, there's processes that people have to go through to do that, but.
I'm just saying, I don't care, but I just need.
Yeah, but I don't think like, but I'm just hypothetically, you can say, Brandon, I want your phone, I want to check. Check everything.
It's 100% correct. You've got to
Yeah.
specifically ask.
So you gotta be consistent as what you want to look for.
Right.
You can't, like,
You can't just take his phone and look for anything.
So you have some protection on personal.
Sure.
Well, it's anything city business related that anybody
Yeah.
can have access to.
I'm not too worried about it.
Like I said, with me, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I'm sure there's 100 people that have my phone number memorized, let alone know how to find it, so.
No, I just thought maybe you guys would like to walk with it,
I mean, I can't only speak for myself.
I don't want to carry two phones. I mean, that's two phones I gotta babysit. I'm worried about keeping this one in good shape, let alone another one. And I use mine, I can run the wells and stuff, so when there's fire calls, even if I'm in Wisconsin, I get the pages, I can start the wells here, so we're not worried about water. I'm not worried about trying to call the guys in to get them to turn it on. So,
You guys want to?
So with that, do we need to make a motion to approve this item?
Yeah.
Make a motion that $25 per person stipend for everyone except Christina, which would be 50.
That'll be Christina.
Travis. Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second, all, or Nate?
Aye.
Rick? John?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Resolution 05-2025 salaries fiscal year 26.
All right, so several years ago, a couple years ago, these were always determined by the contract. Last couple of years, we've done the salary resolutions in June, but it's hard to prepare for. Doing this in June, obviously these don't take effect till July, so I wanted to discuss this tonight so that way I can better prepare the budgets and have a more solid concrete number to budget for. So it was easy before when I started because you just went to the contract and you punched it all in and you had it. In the last couple of years, everything changes and you never know what it is, so you guess, and I'd rather just prepare and have a solid number to budget for. So, library presented theirs. They wanted a 4%. I put 4% in here. By no means am I asking for that, telling you to do that. I just put it in here because that's what they had and was approved. I did put the information in there about the CPI index, which is currently at 3.2, and you can see the rates where they've been. And then, so anyway, again, choose to do
to see our employees be above the average, so I'd be in favor of 4%. Be interested in what the rest of you think.
6% this year.
Doug, what's the,
He gave him 2%
what's the,
merit raise.
Yeah, but that was a merit raise.
Doesn't matter.
Either 4,
Well, yes.
it's either 4 or 4.5.
so is that? I was asking him what they were doing in Mount Vernon, is it 4 to 4.5?
One of those two, let me, let's see if I can find it.
The merit's a one-time deal.
I think we're balancing now, aren't we? 'Cause are we just gonna go?
We have,
They did mine.
Marcia, Travis, and
And Jake?
Keith. Great.
Yeah, Jake's usually set by the ambulance man.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant Jake Stiggum.
No, second. The other Jake.
The other one.
So this is just, you wanna do this just so you kind of have a number, but we don't have to give 4%.
No, I'm just trying to figure out I'm just trying to budget. So instead of doing this when we do it in May or June, I'm trying to do it now so I can have, whatever you guys decide, just have the number so that I can plug it into the budgets instead of waiting until June and then trying to guess what it's gonna be.
But you said, when we talked, when it was 3.8, right? The cost of living?
3.8, I'm gonna drop to 3.2 as of December of '24.
So we really don't even know what it could even drop farther, right?
It could.
Could go up.
Yeah.
And again, I just, like I said, it's,
Yeah, I would.
Mount Vernon's 4.5.
what's that?
4.5 this year. 4 next year.
I'd say. I'll make a motion, to budget it in as high as 4.5%, and no lower than 4.
I'll second that.
Can we do that to the resolution as? I mean, if you're telling them to budget it, so be it, but resolution's in front of us.
So,
Can we make this verbiage change?
yeah, and the mayor would sign it after the completion of it.
Okay.
We have a motion, do I have a second? John seconded.
Yeah.
Nate?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Public hearing for budget amendment number 2, fiscal year 25.
Just need a motion, a second to go into the public hearing.
Motion to go into public hearing.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, everything on here should be everything that we've already discussed. There is one item though I will talk about once we get to it here, but start at the bottom. Everybody have this in front of us.
Sorry.
This page here. You can go down to the bottom of it. It should be on your computer. or on your computer. We'll just go over the changes. Revenue, this is going to be $5,000. It's for the library brick grant that they received. $9,200 of revenue for an insurance claim for the windows. Expenditure changes. $21,500 is going to be for the library roof repair. $35,000 is for City Hall wall and HVAC units. We had our regular maintenance of our unit upstairs at the end of last summer. We had the compressor go out, so I had them order the part for the new compressor. And then during their regular maintenance of the other units, the heat exchanger has holes in it and is out, and it kept tripping, so it lost its power. So when they went up there, there's 3 units that sit side by side. So I told him, I said, well, let's hold off on that compressor. What's the cost of a new unit? so happens that the unit is the middle unit, and in order to get another unit in there without completely revamping the system, they'd have to get a specialized unit. It's going to be over $20,000. So 3,100 is for the compressor and 3,900 is for the heat exchanger. So I'd like to add that to the budget amendment because that's going to need to be repaired immediately, otherwise it's not going to be working. So I will have that on the next agenda. But that is what and then the rest of it is for the last payment made that bled into this year for the windows from the storm damage. Before I go on, is there any other questions with that?
Any questions?
12,000 for the dead trees on Main Street, if you remember the ones on 200 East Main. 9,400 is for the rebate adjustment for budget blinds. 3,800 for the F-150 truck. That was out of general. There was 10 for water and 10 for sewer, and that was the orange truck. 200,000 for the chassis payment that we have to budget for. That's going to be due in February. We added this once we knew that due date because they would not take funds until they received the truck. He confirmed it would be in February. And then transfers would be 9314 TIF adjustment budget lines, and then 190,000 from loss to the water line rehab, and that's for those surprises that we had on the rehab project downtown. Any questions?
Any questions?
Again, everything's been approved. The only one that hadn't been was the heat exchanger one. So,
Any motion about it? Public hearing?
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 06-2025, approving budget amendment number 2 for fiscal year 25.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Rick?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Aye.
The public hearing for changes to chapter 92 water rates for February 24, 25.
I'd like to set the public hearing for the 24th, but I want you guys to look over this ordinance, if you haven't already, during the course of the next month until that public hearing. Obviously, when they did the bonding, there's typically 0 to 1% increase scheduled way back when they put this bonding in place. What that didn't take into account is obviously the cost of all the products and what have you that's incurred since then. I did a lot of looking around at different communities around. If you go to page 2 on here, what I would like to see is an ordinance where we can raise beginning July 1 of 2026 and each year until June 30th of 2030 that we increase by 3% both water, sewer. And any fiscal year where our revenues expected in exceed the expected expenditures by 25%, then by resolution, the council would not raise it. And what this is going to allow, especially after what we dealt with on Friday night out on 3rd Avenue, that's going to allow that money to set aside for projects to get those 4-inch mains, because they're going to nickel and dime us if we don't get them out of here. And if you don't want to do that, and wait to bond again, we can do that. But it seems like every year we're raising the rates, either because they're forecasted or just need to, just because of the cost of doing business. And just so you guys know, because I'm sure somebody will ask, the minimum bill, if we did this at 3%, is $1.97 a month, for a total of $23.70 a year of an increase. That's at 3%.
That's what it will.
That would be water, sewer total.
That's what it.
3%.
So what's just a plain, simple minimum use bill cost?
Water, sewer, everything with garbage is about $68.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
It's $93.
Right. And you see in the packet, there's all the comparisons that we've done before. I think that is the exact number, 9328 or something, but it's in the mechanics hose is in there. So it'd be $23.70 a year. I did the average bill for everybody. It'd be about $3 a month, $36 a year. And again, that's across the board. That's water sewer. We're only talking a revenue increase of $12,000 for water and $12,000 for sewer at 3%. So we're not talking a substantial amount of money. I know that people may squawk about, well, this is going up, but when you're talking, I'd rather do it this way. I think it'd be better for people to prepare instead of saying, okay, well, we're going to have this project, what are we going to do? You can see on that comparison, some cities have a flat fee of $35. That's just a debt service fee that they charge. And we went from Grand Mound all the way to Atkins along the corridor. And they're all over the place as far as water. So there's several that are doing it this way. The other nice thing is we don't have to have 3 readings every year and go through the whole amendment process every time. We can just do this by resolution. And
I thought we already did rates at 3% every year.
no.
I think that's what we did. I've been here just talking about it, did it.
I think from experience, this is the best way to go. We let it slide there at one period for several years, and then we had to jump it quite a bit. And we heard from the people.
Right.
On that.
And this verbiage is from Mount Vernon's ordinance, because they do so many years out.
It's also West Branch, and there was one other one that has that. We just did it till 2030. That'd be a 5-year, 5 years of that.
Come back and revisit it 5 years. Need a motion for public hearing.
Motion to set a public hearing
February 24th.
for February 24th.
So motion by the second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So public hearing, the changes for chapter 99 sewer rates for February 24th. Same thing.
Yeah, sorry.
First was water, second sewer.
Sorry, yeah.
Any motion?
Motion to set the public hearing for February 24th.
A motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Correspondence.
I do not have anything tonight.
City engineer.
I'll cover that in mine.
Public works.
We got a pretty good start before the weather got too cold on sports complex bathrooms. We're getting the walls put up. We're hoping to be back there this week while it's nice, getting the rest of the siding put up. Obviously, you guys were informed we had the water main break, and minus the temperatures being a little chilly, I think it went about as smooth as it could be. We got one spot fixed, and then found out a couple feet further there was another spot, and once we got that fixed, there was another spot. So there's technically 3 breaks in that line. I talked to Brandon this morning. We're going to look at digging that intersection up where that old hydrant is and remove the hydrant leg itself and take the hydrant out, cap it, because that's the spots that it's breaking. And then that'll buy us the time, hopefully, to finish Main Street project and then get Third Avenue started.
Was that a 4-inch main?
Yes.
If, good to call Bradley, and how much would that cost us?
Anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000, depending on how many people they brought. And
How much did it cost us with the overtime?
It's tough because we would have 2 guys here for sure, so you would have paid that overtime anyways. So it'd be whatever the additional 2 were.
It's probably done under $1,000
Okay.
with parts and whatever. Originally, because we knew that there was a leak, we were originally going to rent a piece of equipment to expedite it in case we needed to keep chasing it, but it ended up showing. So we did it with our mini hoe and worked pretty slick. So
when we got that snow, the other time, that's what last snow we got, I just happened to be up and outside when Keith was down with the, whatever.
Yeah, Lord.
Is there any way we could demo one of those pushers? But just watching him, I thought it took a lot longer than it would.
And it does. There's no demos on them. Most of their demo units are rented out for the winter to other companies. Like we talked before, that was something we were gonna purchase for this year, but we ended up spending the money elsewhere. So Brandon and I are hoping we can get through this winter, and if we have enough left in May, June-ish.
I mean, I just, I set out, I didn't sit out there, when I was shoveling, I was just kind of watching it, and I was like, this ain't saving any time at all, if you're doing it like that.
No. The only thing it is,
With a big,
it's getting it cleaner than we can get with the truck.
It's a big, basically, how wide is it?
10 foot.
10 foot, instead of a 6 foot bucket, you got 10 foot, which more snow. And you can control the sides, so it won't go on the sides as much as. Like, yeah, like when it warms. I mean, it's just, I just thought, when I was getting ready to work, and I'm just watching it, and I was like, this,
We'll do one more tonight, I'll have them.
yeah, it'd be nice. So, I mean, I don't know, I mean, how much was one of those?
We were in that 10 to 11 range.
So, anybody else have any questions? A lot of them use it because it's a lot liquor. Parks and Rec,
Other than snow removal, I have been working on the sponsorship project that I talked about in my budget presentation. Boys basketball's in full swing, we got 3 weeks left of games, and after that wraps up, it'll be spring soccer. That is all I have.
any questions for Graydon?
I have a question right now, I should maybe brought it up earlier, but with the Heritage Park thing now, it's off your plate now, right?
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about mowing or any, does that change your trajectory on like part-time employees or anything like that? Or now that you're, the sports complex is gonna make up what you lost in one thing, just shifted to the north?
We lost one thing, we still obviously have the south side of the sports complex, and we're eventually gonna have the north side as well. And Brian does more than just help out with those. So Brian strictly was just worried about the farm and the sports complex, but he also helped me out with other mowing outside of that too. So, and then if I'm gone in the winter and stuff like that, he helps out with snow removal and things like that. So, yeah, it's definitely takes a little bit off, but eventually it's gonna add
Come right
right back on again, plus another however many acres, so it's.
Because I mean, as far as staffing or whatever, obviously, pretty soon here, if you were thinking about hiring somebody part-time. or
Yeah, I
whatever.
think we'll be fine for now until we get the baseball portion of the sports complex done. I think we're.
Right.
Anybody else got any questions for Graydon? Please, Brian.
Only thing to be honest in the report is just updated Officer Eckert is plugging away at the academy. He's completed 3 full weeks and started week 4 today. So 12 more to go.
How many more?
So, April 25th. You might want to keep that in mind.
Any questions for Doug? Ambulance? I don't have any, no, chief. Nothing. That's the administrator.
All right, Barnes update, the abstract is complete, so the 2 attorneys are working on the deed, and hopefully we'll have a closing here in the next 30 days on that. Sports complex update, bids are going out tomorrow. Grading bid will be due February 11th, and we will award those bids at the March 10th council meeting. They're going to be allowed to start April 1st, and substantial completion will be July 15th for the grading. And for the ball fields, they go to bid tomorrow. Pre-bid conference is going to be February 5th here at City Hall. The bids are going to be due February 19th. We'll discuss them and approve those at the council meeting on March 10th. Start date will be July 22nd, which would be the same, the week after the grading is substantially done. And their substantial completion will be November 30th of 2026. And then we will allow for seeding the next spring with the liquidated damages not start until June of 2027. So it'll be the second half of this summer and all of the next construction season that will be going on.
You said that was the ball field?
Correct. Yep, the grading will be, I'll give this to you too, Nate, if you need it. The grading will be starting April 1st and done July 15th this year.
Is that grading the whole thing or just?
Well, we're doing the base bid of just what we need with an alternate bid of the whole thing, so we can pick and choose which one we want, just based on how the numbers are. Other than that, just been working on the budget. Again, thanks to the guys the other night for the late night, Friday night, getting the water main fixed. I will say it's hard to know what you're going to find on the north end of town, especially, and it's the intent isn't to take people without water, but the reason for the low pressure is that we can fix it live, because otherwise you shut it down, you got to go through all the boil steps, and fixing it live is a better option, I think, for everybody. Less contaminants and all that stuff. So just be patient with us when that happens. We try to be as informative. If you haven't, please sign up for the Nixle, and then obviously follow on Facebook. We try to get that out as soon as we can so everybody's in the know. But thanks to everybody for the crew for all their hard work with that. Travis covered the building, and then Dave wanted me to tell you guys that he's still putting together the final plans for the chemical feed building. Should be done in a few weeks. He wants to have the bids out in April to start May. So that's for the well out complex. That is all I have. Happy to answer questions.
Christine?
Working on the budget and the paperwork for our extra payments that we've scheduled for our bonds. And just a reminder to people that rental inspections will be this year again, so don't be surprised when you get contacted for rental inspections. That's it.
Christina?
I don't have anything tonight.
Sure.
No.
Jim?
I noticed a lot of the school teams have been doing good at the state level, so congratulations to them. And thanks to the city crew for the water main break. That saves us money, and I think it's great. I'm just glad I don't have to be out in that weather. That's all I have.
Kevin?
Nothing.
All I got is, I just want to thank city crews. I did go over there for a little bit, and I could only last like 15 minutes now for us, so I appreciate all the work they do, and they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that a lot of citizens don't realize that they're doing, and I do appreciate that. Enjoy.